Welcome to our deep dive into the Kite Runner. It's a story that takes us right into the heart of Afghanistan, a world of, well, friendship and betrayal, and of course, redemption.
It's a story that stays with you.
Yeah, it does. And what's really amazing is how it's so much more than just a good story. It's like a window into a whole culture, a history that I think a lot of people don't know that much about.
Right. You're talking about traditions like those kite fighting tournaments.
Oh, yeah, the kite fighting tournaments, which are huge in the book. I mean, they're not just, kids playing around.
No, not at all. These are serious events, and they really capture, I think, something about Afghan culture, that sense of competition, but also the importance of tradition. And then there are these amazing descriptions of those cozy, cursy gatherings during the winter.
The what?
Kersey. Imagine like a low table and there's a heater underneath it, and it's all covered with this like thick blanket with cushions all around.
Oh, okay, I get it. Like a really warm, inviting space.
Exactly. And it's a place where families and friends gather, tell stories, share meals. It's central to the story.
So let's go back to the beginning. Amir's childhood in Kabul.
Hmm.
Before the war changed everything. It almost sounds idyllic, right?
Yeah, at first glance, Kabul is this vibrant city, bustling with life.
Full of energy.
But Hosseini, he doesn't shy away from the complexities. I mean, he reveals this pretty stark social divide
Between
between the Pashtuns and the Hazaras.
Right.
And so you have Amir, our main character. He's Pashtun. His father's this wealthy merchant. And then there's Hassan, Amir's best friend, and he's Hazara. His father's a servant. So that difference in social standing, it's always there, kind of lurking beneath the surface of their friendship.
And their friendship, it's complicated from the get-go.
Oh, absolutely. Hassan is completely devoted to Amir, loyal no matter what, even though Amir, well, he doesn't always treat Hassan as an equal.
Which is kind of, well, heartbreaking when you think about it.
It is, but their bond is genuine. They share so much, even with that imbalance. They learn to ride bikes together, build a homemade camera, and of course, there's all that kite flying.
Yeah, the kite flying, those scenes, they're almost magical, aren't they?
Totally. You can practically feel the wind, the excitement.
There's this one scene where Baba, Amir's father, is watching them fly kites. And there's this look in his eyes. It's like pride, but also this sadness. Like, I don't know, maybe he sees something of himself in Hassan.
Interesting. You know, Baba, he's a fascinating character. He's this like imposing figure, larger than life, and his relationship with Amir is, well, it's tough. Baba wants Amir to be, I don't know, tougher, more athletic, like a winner.
Which Amir isn't really.
No, Amir's more introspective, drawn to books and stories, which to Baba seems weak. It's like he's disappointed that Amir isn't more like Hassan, who, embodies all that courage and strength that Baba values.
And then there's that incident with the soldiers, the ones who, taunt Hassan about being Hazara. And Amir, instead of sticking up for him, he just tells him to keep walking. It's a small moment, but it feels important.
It is. I think that scene really foreshadows the central conflict of the whole story. It shows us Amir's cowardice, his inability to stand up for what's right, especially when it comes to protecting Hassan. And it highlights the prejudice that Hazaras face even back then.
And then, of course, the kite fighting tournament.
Yeah.
That becomes this huge turning point.
It is. I mean, it's not just about kites.
Right.
It's this microcosm of all these power dynamics, rivalries within Kabul.
Right.
And you have to remember, Baba, he was a champion kite fighter. So Amir, he desperately wants to win, to finally get his father's approval. It's like he's carrying the weight of Baba's legacy, that pressure to live up to this like image of masculinity that Baba represents.
And Hassan, always the loyal friend, he says to Amir, for you 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
He's promising to run that last cut kite no matter what. And those words, they take on this whole new meaning after what happens next.
That's Hosseini's genius right there. He sets up these seemingly innocent moments that later become just so heavy with meaning.
Yeah.
The tournament, it ends in triumph for Amir, but it's a hollow victory, and it sets the stage for this devastating betrayal that will shatter their friendship.
This is where the story takes a really dark turn. Amir witnesses something horrific. And his choice in that moment, it changes everything. We're talking about the aftermath of the tournament, the attack on Hassan.
It's such a hard scene to read. Amir finds Hassan cornered in an alley by Asif, the neighborhood bully, he's known for his cruelty, his hatred of Hazaras. And what happens next is just brutal. Asif assaults Hassan, and Amir, he's frozen by fear. He doesn't do anything to stop it.
I felt sick to my stomach reading that. It's betrayal on such a deep level. How do you think that shaped Amir? I mean, his view of himself?
Oh, it's profound. It plants the seed of guilt that will stay with him for years. It defines him, shapes his actions, his relationships. But it also reveals how much he craves Baba's approval. He's willing to sacrifice his loyalty to Hassan for just a moment of, I don't know, a moment of triumph in his father's eyes.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. It really shows how that need for validation can lead to really devastating choices.
And the guilt, it just eats away at Amir, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He tries to pretend nothing happened, but it haunts him. The memory of Hassan's pain, his own betrayal. He even starts being cruel to Hassan,
Oh.
trying to push him away. Because he can't face what he did. It's like a defense mechanism.
To protect himself.
Yeah, to distance himself from that guilt. So what happens to Hassan and Ali? They don't just vanish, do they?
No, they don't.
What happens next is it's just as awful. Hassan, in this incredibly selfless act, he confesses to stealing Amir's birthday gifts, even though he didn't do it. He takes the blame to protect Amir. And Ali, who's always been there for Hassan, he decides they can't stay.
At Baba's house.
Right. They leave with this quiet dignity, leaving Amir with that unbearable secret.
That betrayal, the guilt, Hassan and Ali leaving. It's like a turning point, not just for Amir, but for Afghanistan too, right?
Exactly. It's like the personal and the political are about to collide. The consequences of Amir's actions, they'll ripple through his whole life, shape his future, and his quest for redemption. But all of this is happening as Afghanistan itself is changing. The Soviet invasion's on the horizon. And soon, Amir and Baba, they'll be forced to flee their homeland, leaving behind their old life, but not the ghosts of their past.
And that's where we'll pick up next time, when our deep dive takes us from the streets of Kabul to a new world, a new life in America, which makes you wonder, can you ever truly escape your past?
That's the question, isn't it? Welcome back to our deep dive into the Kite Runner.
When we left off, Baba had just gotten some really tough news. Terminal lung cancer.
And it's striking how he decides to face it, He refuses treatment. It's almost like he's defying fate.
So Baba, facing death the same way he faced everything, head on, with that strength.
Exactly. But instead of focusing on his own illness, he becomes, obsessed with making sure Amir is happy.
Which brings us to Soraya. Before Baba got sick, she was got to tell Amir something.
Right. Soraya, the daughter of that former Afghan general, remember they met at the flea market where Baba was selling things?
It seemed like they clicked right away.
They did. But their whole relationship unfolds under the watchful eye of her father, who is very traditional.
It's like that classic immigrant experience.
Yeah.
Finding comfort, connection in a shared culture.
True. But there's more to it than that. Both Amir and Soraya, they're carrying their pasts with them, their secrets. And before we get to Baba's final days, we need to talk about Soraya's secret.
Yeah. It's a pretty big one, right?
It is. She tells Amir that when she was younger, she ran away with an Afghan man.
Ran away?
Yeah. They lived together for like a month before her father found them and brought her back.
Wow. In their community, that's a huge deal.
It is. And the shame, the judgment, it's followed her ever since. But what's amazing is how Amir reacts.
He doesn't reject her.
No. He tells her he doesn't care about her past, he loves her, and he wants to marry her.
Do you think maybe by forgiving Soraya, he's also, trying to forgive himself for what happened with Hassan?
That's a really interesting thought. Yeah, maybe accepting Soraya's past is a way for him to try to come to terms with his own guilt. Like he's recognizing that they both made mistakes, that they're both human.
So even though Baba is, fading, he gets his wish. Amir and Soraya are married, a traditional Afghan ceremony. But it's bittersweet, isn't it?
Definitely. The celebration's overshadowed by Baba's illness. He dies soon after the wedding.
And Amir, he never really gets that explicit approval from his father, does he?
No. But I think he finally understands Baba, accepts the relationship for all its complexities. It's like he's made peace with the past, at least with that part of it.
So they start their new life together, Amir and Soraya. They teach at a high school, find comfort in their Afghan heritage. They even go to these Afghan gatherings, like little pieces of home.
But there's something missing. They really want children, but they can't conceive. And as the years pass, it becomes this source of pain, frustration.
Almost like the unresolved guilt. That shadow from Amir's past is preventing them from moving forward.
Maybe, on some level, he feels unworthy of creating new life because of what he did to Hassan.
And then Amir gets this call. That changes everything.
A call from Rahim Khan, Baba's close friend who stayed behind in Afghanistan. He begs Amir to come to Peshawar. He says, There's a way to be good again. Cryptic, right?
Totally. But for Amir, it's like this lifeline, a glimmer of hope.
It is. It's what sets him on this journey back to Afghanistan, to face the past that he's been running from all this time.
Okay, so what's waiting for him in Peshawar?
He finds Rahim Khan, frail, sick, but still holding on to Baba's secrets. And what he reveals, it completely changes Amir's understanding of his family, of himself.
Okay, I gotta know. What's the secret?
Rahim Khan tells him, Baba and Ali, they weren't just friends. They were half-brothers.
Wait, what? So Hassan.
Hassan was Baba's son. He had an affair with Ali's wife, Sanabar. Amir and Hassan, they weren't just childhood friends, they were cousins. Blood relatives.
This changes everything. It's like suddenly Baba's behavior, his complicated feelings for both of them, it makes sense.
It adds this whole other layer to Baba's character. He wasn't just this stern, imposing figure. He was a man tormented by guilt, trying to make amends for his past.
It's heartbreaking. And Amir, his whole world just gets turned upside down.
And it gets worse. Rahim Khan tells him that Hassan and his wife Farzana, they're dead, murdered by the Taliban, who now control Kabul.
Oh, no. It's just tragedy after tragedy.
And there's one more blow. Hassan and Farzana had a son, Sohrab. He's an orphan now, living in a Kabul orphanage. And this is where Rahim Khan's plea for Amir to be good again comes in.
He wants Amir to go back to Kabul, rescue his nephew.
Yes. It's incredibly dangerous. But for Amir, it's a chance at redemption. A chance to honor Hassan's memory.
So, does he do it? Does he risk everything to go back to Kabul? To a city ruled by the Taliban?
That's what we'll find out in the final part of our deep dive. Amir's journey back to Afghanistan. It's about to begin. But this time, he's not running away from something. He's running towards it, towards a chance to finally face his past. And maybe, just maybe, redeem himself.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Kite Runner. We left Amir with a tough choice to make. Go back to Kabul to rescue his nephew, or stay safe in America.
And Kabul, it's a completely different place now, under Taliban rule.
Yeah, not exactly a welcoming environment.
No, it's a city transformed. The Kabul of Amir's childhood, it's gone. Now it's under the control of the Taliban. They've imposed this incredibly strict interpretation of Islamic law.
It's like a world turned upside down.
It is. Armed soldiers everywhere, women forced to wear burqas, music banned, public executions. It's a brutal regime.
So how does Amir how does he approach this? He's not going it alone, is he?
No, he's not. He has Farid with him. He's this former Mujahideen fighter turned driver. He becomes Amir's guide.
Through this dangerous landscape.
Yeah. Farid, he's seen a lot. He's cynical, hardened by war, but he's resourceful. He understands the dangers, knows how to navigate, the complexities of the Taliban.
So they get to Kabul. What's the first thing that hits Amir?
Hosseini doesn't hold back. He shows us the brutality of the Taliban. There's this one scene at Ghazi Stadium. A soccer match is interrupted by a public execution.
Oh, God.
A man and a woman accused of adultery, they're stoned to death. It's horrifying. A real reminder of how little the Taliban value human life.
So how does Amir, where does he even start looking for Sohrab in all this chaos?
It's a tough one. His first lead takes him to the orphanage, where Sohrab is supposed to be. But the director, Zaman, this really kind man, he tells Amir something terrible. A Talib official, he comes to the orphanage. Regularly. He takes children, pays for them, calls it dirty money.
It makes you sick to think about it.
Yeah.
These kids, so vulnerable.
That's the reality of war, unfortunately. Children are often the ones who suffer the most, caught in the middle of these power struggles. And for Amir, this just strengthens his resolve. He has to find Sohrab, get him out.
And his search leads him to a pretty chilling reunion.
It does. He runs into someone he thought he'd left behind in his past, Asaf, the bully who tormented him and Hassan.
Talk about a blast from the past, and not a good one. Asaf, he's a powerful Talib official now, a real symbol of the regime's brutality.
It's like that reminder that the past is never really over. And for Amir facing Asaf, it brings back all that trauma, all that guilt. He's forced to confront his own cowardice.
So what happens? Does he back down again?
This time, something's different. He finds himself fighting back, fighting for Sohrab, for his own redemption. He's up against the man who represents everything he hates about himself.
It's a brutal fight, right?
It is. Years of buried guilt and anger, all coming to the surface. Amir takes a beating, but he refuses to give up. He's finally trying to atone for what he did by protecting Hassan's son. And what's incredible is how Sohrab reacts.
He doesn't just stand by and watch.
No, he remembers the slingshot, the one Hassan used to protect Amir from Asaf. And he uses a slingshot, too, blinding Asaf in one eye, giving Amir a chance to escape.
Wow. It's like this moment of, I don't know, like poetic justice, Hassan's courage living on in his son.
Yeah. And they manage to flee Kabul with Farid's help. They cross the border into Pakistan. But the physical escape, it's just the beginning.
Right, because Sohrab has been through so much.
He's traumatized, withdrawn, haunted by the loss of his parents, by everything he's witnessed.
So it's not just about getting Sohrab to safety. It's about helping him heal.
Exactly. Amir tries to connect with him, tells him stories about Hassan, even reads to him from the Shahnameh, that Persian epic they both loved. But Sohrab, he's locked in his own world.
It must be so frustrating for Amir, knowing he can't just erase the pain.
It is, but he keeps trying, determined to give Sohrab a chance at a new life. And he starts the process of trying to adopt him, bring him to America.
Which is probably a bureaucratic nightmare, especially with everything going on politically.
It is. The American embassy, they're not much help. They want all this paperwork. That's impossible to get. A lawyer tells him it's a long shot. Adopting an Afghan child, it seems hopeless.
And for Sohrab, it's another potential abandonment after everything else.
And his fear, it's so overwhelming that he tries to kill himself, slashes his wrists.
God, it's a stark reminder of how deep those wounds go.
Yeah.
The ones you can't see.
It's a wake-up call for Amir. He realizes he can't force Sohrab to heal. He has to meet him where he is, accept his silence, and just be there, unconditionally.
So does Sohrab make it to America?
He does, but it takes months. Paperwork, interviews, legal battles, it's an ordeal. But finally, he arrives in San Francisco, joins Amir and Soraya.
Is it a happy ending then?
It's not that straightforward. He's still withdrawn, struggling to adapt to this new life. The trauma, it stays with him.
But Amir doesn't give up.
No. He becomes Sohrab's caregiver. Patient, dedicated. He understands that healing takes time, and he's willing to wait.
Are there any signs, any moments where Sohrab seems to be, I don't know, coming out of his shell?
There is this one beautiful scene. Towards the end, there's this Afghan kite-flying festival in a park. And Amir sees Sohrab. He's watching the kites, and there's a flicker of a smile on his face.
It's like a tiny ray of hope.
It is. And Amir, remembering Hassan's words, he runs a kite for Sohrab, whispers, "For you, 1,000 times over."
Wow. It's powerful stuff.
Yep.
So what do we take away from the Kite Runner?
I think it shows us the lasting impact of the past and the possibility of healing, redemption, but it doesn't offer easy answers.
Yeah. It's a story that stays with you, makes you think about your own choices, your own capacity for forgiveness, and the power of love and loyalty, even in the face of unimaginable hardship.
It's about the human spirit's ability to endure, to find hope, even after experiencing tremendous loss.
And it leaves us with some big questions. Can we ever truly escape our past? What does redemption really mean?
Questions worth pondering, for sure.
Absolutely. And we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought, some new perspectives on this powerful story. Thanks for joining us.